Hello, all viewers. The tournament is going to start soon, so we just have to wait for about 2 minutes and 45 seconds now, and then we will start the commentary as well as the question and answer session. You can ask your questions, and we would be happy to answer them all. The battle has begun. We have around 6 teams playing today, and we have the first battle going on between Andre. Andre is the person who actually pinged me, and he wanted to play our tournament. So his team is Beat Mendano Chess Prodigy. This is a new team today participating in our team battle. And then we have Chess Blasters, our regular players, and one of the best teams that we have right now in on Leeches. So this is let me just go back and explain you this opening. So d4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, and pawn to e4. I think this is called as the rider gambit when this is played. E4 is played, and then f3 is played, and then knight takes f3 is played. So this is called as a rider gambit, and this can be played in bullet and blitz games to surprise your opponent. This is a very good weapon, guys, that you can use and surprise all of your opponents early in the opening, and this generally leads to your opponent wasting a lot of time in the opening, and you will be in advantage of time which you have to use and convert into win later on in the game. So that's a strategy when you surprise someone in the opening to gain more time and to develop the mating attacks if possible. Okay, so let's see if black can equalize quickly and avoid all the attacks in this beautiful open F and E files. Everyone likes this open files, and just white would love to put his rook on E1, probably put the queen on D2 and thread this sacrifice on H6. So this is going to be a very nice battle. White is already has very good attacking chances on F7. Even queen can hop onto h5 now, put pressure on this f6 square. Now knight f6 I think should be the best move here to defend this h5 square, also to block this f7 uh, f7 pawn as much as possible. It's interesting to see the black's reply now. Knight f6 is something that he should play. Yeah. So knight f6 has been played, and this is what I was expecting him to play. Knight f7, yeah, this is the problem now. So when you have the beautiful open f file, you are allowed to make this beautiful sacrifices, and now black is going to lose his queen. So black would now be left with a knight, a bishop, and two rooks versus a bishop, a queen, and a rook. So if now black is able to build a strong castle or a strong fortress around his king, then it won't be easy for white to break this defenses. This won't be easy right now. Yeah, this g takes and queen h5 check is available, but I think that's okay. These two rooks, I think if given a chance, this if this king comes to d7, or even if it's going to go on this b8 square from here, and these two pawns are supported, or even this black is able to generate this passer in the e file, this might turn out to be in his favor. Now rook f1, rook f3, rook g3 should be the plan, which will help white to deliver a mate. c3 should be played first, of course, because rook takes c2 was one of the threats. And now I think queen g4 check, queen takes e6 is also possible. If queen g4 check, king to f7, then king rook can be brought to f1, or rook can be brought to e1. Yeah, so that's the next threat, queen check, and then capture this pawn. So it's now being supported by the rook. Now rook I think can go to e3 and just probably put some pressure. I think g3 is now defended by this bishop, so rook cannot go to g3. So white is just trying to push the pawn. But this is the very nice battle, guys. Both players are good players right now. Andre is 2130, so that's a very nice rating. And Super Bohemo, we have seen his games. He can be destructive many times if he is on his toes. So Chiku is asking a question right now. So Chiku is asking, Bhaiya, how to make arrows in mobile app of leeches? It means that, so Chiku, if you are listening to me, your question is that in the mobile chess or in mobile application, you want to draw the arrows to explain to someone or to the do the live broadcast, right? I think that is what your question is. So in any app right now in the mobile, this feature is not available on the screen, draw on the screen. That is the application name. You can download it from Google Play Store. You can draw the arrows on the screen anywhere, but it is not available in the app right now. Okay, that's the question from Chiku 888. Hope Chiku that answers your query. This is again a nice position, guys. This is nicely poised. The king is on h7 now. And how would, because this rook is trying to put pressure in the f file, but it's all defended here. f6 is well defended. Queen h4 probably can be played. And now I think black should start to try and play this e5 move if possible. e5 or okay, so black is just trying to play safe. I think rook g8 can be now threatened, and this check is now possible. Rook takes g2. This rook g3 is still possible now. f6 is not hanging, so probably queen will go to e2 and try to attack this e6 pawn. Yeah, queen e2 has been played, and e6 is now the threat. So now this is the chance for, but I think pawn takes, and okay. So queen d3 check is not available because of rook g3. I was just thinking about this check and capture the pawn on d5, but that's not available because of this rook on g3, and this also this exchange is not possible because this rook is hanging over there on f8. So now I think queen h6 can be played. Queen h6 was threatening this as well as this, so it could have been a nice move, and black should not have exchanged the rooks. That's what I believe. Black should have tried to maintain his rook so that to get some kind of mating attack or some mating net over here in uh, on the king side. Chiku, the app name. Let me get you the app name. I think it is called as any direction or any arrow. That's probably the name. I need to confirm that I had seen that application long back. So you can just check on. You can just put in the Play Store, draw arrow on screen. There are a lot of applications that I have researched there, and all applications are good. You can draw arrows. Some are asking you for the money, but you can ignore the money part. You can do your arrows uh, gesture over there without paying the money also. So now this is a different battle. This white has got an advantage of h pawn. I still believe black should not have exchanged his rooks. He might have got an advantage with the two rooks on the board right now. So Chiku says, thank you, Bhaiya. You're most welcome, Chiku. If you like the video, you can hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be motivated to know that you like the video. So white has lost the pawn, not yet, but he is going to lose soon. And okay, so I think that was a blunder. He should have captured the pawn on h7. There was no threat after that, right? If white black would have captured the pawn, yes, I think that should have been played actually. Yep, that's a check and mate. So let's go back couple of moves. I think time pressure is what came on to the black here. So this check, okay. So yeah, king takes was not possible because queen is supporting. I'm sorry for that. And then we have queen check, king to f5, and now queens. Yeah, that's how white won this one. So this was the position, and king g7 probably was the blunder here. It should not have been played. Probably king e7 or something like that could have been tried before. So the idea was to play king g7 and play rook takes h7, but he missed that this queen can come to d7, deliver a check, and then probably go. I think even here king h8 was playable if I'm not wrong. If king h8, then queen e8 check, king can come back to g7. No, so queen e7 check, and now you cannot go back to the h8 square because of queen f8 mate. Yeah, so that's a winning for white now. Let's go back to the tournament and try to check the next game. So we have a game between Devanjan and Wild Frog. Let's check this game. So it's about to end now. White is in heavy advantage with all four passers, and black has no pawn. So let's quickly go back and check what happened in the opening. E4, c5, knight to f3, pawn to g6, pawn to d4, pawn takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop to g7, knight to c3, pawn to d6, bishop to e3, knight to f6 and f3. So um, this is a setup where this is a dragon, actually dragon setup from black side, which you can play. If you want to play dragon, you should follow Hikaru Nakamura. He is one of the best players of Sicilian dragon. And here actually white is trying to go into the setup of playing this g4 h4 attack, which is called as Yugoslav attack. This is one of the strongest weapons that white has against the Sicilian dragon. So let's check what happened in the opening. So a6 was played. This variation is generally not very common, but this is called as, I think, Dragendorf. It's a combination of Sicilian dragon and Sicilian Natchdorf. So the name is given as Dragendorf. So pawn to a6, queen to d2, pawn to h6, bishop to c4, knight to d7, pawn to a4, knight to e5. Bishop is hanging, so bishop was taken back to b3 here. So bishop d7, queen, king to f2. This is very rarely played actually, and the idea is to keep the king on the king side itself, not on the queen side where this very exposed after rook c8 and knight comes to c4. So there are a lot of tactics on this c file here with this bishop and the knight. So rook takes c3 can be played. So this to avoid this, king f2 is played, and I think then probably g4 h4 will be played later on in the game. So let's see. So rook c8 was played, queen to e2, just not allowing this knight to sit happily on c4 square, defending it with the bishop as well as the queen. So now knight c4 was played, and I think that's a blunder from white side. Why would you give away a knight free? Castles, yes, that's a blunder. A free piece in the center. That is not how you should play the chess. Don't give your in the center. Rook to c1, queen to c7, and bishop comes back to a2, and then pawn to e5, knight comes back, and white is going into a very bad position here. That's not the way white should play, but white has won this one. It would be interesting to see how the game progresses. 92, a huge number of moves. So let's quickly check the position we were in. So this was a free piece given, and knight came back to b3, rook to d1, bishop e6, rook to c1, and okay, just going back a few moves. I was just so knight c4. Yeah, this is a blunder actually, giving away the c4 knight, and then this is the continuation. Bishop to c4 was played, queen to d2, and yeah, white won this one easily after the piece was given away for free. And I think that's I think we should stop here because black is already piece down and white is having not the best position, but he can manage very well. Yeah, so that's, yeah, look at this knight. After this knight is sitting on d5, this is a winning position for white. So let's go back to the tournament and check the next game. So the next game, let's pick up the game between Super Bohemo. I think we have seen the game. Let's check this one. Okay, let's check what happened in the opening. So d4 e5. This is called as the England Gambit. d4 e5, and this is again to surprise your opponent. Play e5, play d6, or play f6. Try to open up the d file or the f file and try to attack as much as possible on white's king. So d4 e5, pawn takes, pawn to d6, bishop takes d6, knight to f3, knight to c6, pawn to g3, and queen to e7, bishop to g2, bishop to g4, castles. And this is the way I think this I have seen this type of games before, where this rook gets this beautiful open file and its queen is put under the question right away. So queen e1 was played here, pawn to h5, and queen to c3. So this is huge pressure on white's king side. Queen to c4 and knight to d4. Look at these beautiful pieces setting up here. Castle king, rook in the open file. Sorry, this is the open file. This is the rook is in the open file. So a lot of attack with black here. So this pawn's okay. So I'm back. Sorry, there was some disturbance in between. So h file is open now, and then we have pawn to h4, bishop to e3, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes g3, and pawn takes g3. I think e3 is something that is hanging right now. So queen e3 was played, rook f2, and I think now knight e2 is not possible. Yep, so this is a good position for black. Let's see how. Okay, this is live position actually. So rook h2 is kind of possible here. If king h2, then queen takes f2 can be played. It's interesting to see how the white continue of the black continues his attack. This is a live position. So meanwhile, all the viewers out there, you can put your questions in the comment section. I would be happy to answer them all. So just to give you brief of who I am exactly. So this is Amit Sawan, the one who is doing the commentary. I am rated 2048, the classical rating. I have been coaching from last 20 years, and I'm also a software engineer. So I do the part-time work in chess and help all the players out there to improve their game, to make sure that they are guided in the right way and they are able to use the technology that is there available for them free. Most of us don't know what technologies are available right now with us. Rook H2 is possible now. So there are a lot of technologies which are available for free, and unnecessarily people are scamming you. They are trying to fool you around, and I think Rook H2 was checkmate here. Rook H2, King H2, Queen to F2 check, King H3, and Rook H1 was checkmate. So that's checkmate in 4 missed by black. But anyways, this is also a checkmate which is unstoppable now. But just white gets an extra move here. Probably rook f1 can be played here. Okay, so about me, yeah, I think that's, you can check my profile on fide.com. You can just put the name Ahmed Sawan and you'll get my details. So if you need any guidance, any coaching or anything that you are not aware of, you can just message me. I will be happy to help you. Okay, so here White resigned. Just in 19 moves, the game was over. So this is one of the best examples, guys. You can check this game, this England Gambit game, which is very aggressive. D takes a5 and then d6 is played. If a takes d6, bishop takes d6. White is greedy here, trying to grab all the pawns, and then knight f3, knight c6, pawn to g3, queen to e7, making sure that these queens are not exchanged. This bishop comes somewhere in the g file, and this king can go and castle here, putting the rook in the open file again, attacking the queen. Okay, so this is a opening that you can learn, guys. Surprise your opponent and have a beautiful wins there on the board. Let's go back to a tournament and check the next game. So next game is between let's check this game. My Shakti and Hide on. Both are playing in the Berserk mode. You can see here 130 and 124. So both players are playing in the Berserk mode, and d4, e6 is played. c4 has been played. So bishop to e7 and knight to c3, knight to f6, pawn to e4. So this is going to be a full-fledged. This, I think this can be called as a Pano Botvinnik variation in the Caro-Kann defense if pawn comes to c6. So there is a problem in the connection now. Yeah. So that's the problem, and yeah, I think I got disconnected. I'm back online now. So this is where actually there is a lot of network problems right now on the in my area, which leads to disconnects. So that's all okay. Let's try to concentrate on the game now. I think bishop b5 can be played now, and if bishop c6, then bishop takes c6, knight takes c6, and this d4 pawn can be attacked. Then this bishop king is locked actually in a bad way. f7 is now hanging. Rook takes f7 can be played, threatening rook f8 check, and if rook takes, then we can just capture the rook with the pawn. Of course, this bishop takes is possible. Knight d4 I think should be played now. Yeah, rook f7 was played. Okay. Knight takes, king takes, and now queen f1 check. King goes back, and d5 is hanging. Yeah, I think that should be the game now. d5 and queen takes d7. Another free piece for white. A good tactic here. Just e5 rook was hanging, and rook e8, queen check now, king 2, and rook e1 check is can be played. Rook e1 check and capture the rook there. King takes d5, queen takes a7 can be played now. Yep. So black wins on time here. A lucky win for black. Let's go back to tournament and check the next game. So let's check the game between. Okay, let's check this one, Mr. Green and Sonia Tharwa. Okay, so so e4 g6 was played here. d4, bishop to g7, knight to f3, pawn to d6, pawn to c4, knight to h6. And this is again a new idea, guys, to play f6, knight f7, and play pawn to e5. This helps in two ways, just to make sure that knight from f7 is supporting the e5 square, and it also supports the h6 square, so that this bishop e3, queen d2 becomes ineffective, because this bishop cannot be played to h6, because this bishop can capture the h6 bishop back. So nice strategy here from black side. You can learn this one. So bishop to d3, castles, knight to c3, bishop to g4, bishop to e3, knight to c6. Now the d4 pawn is hanging, guys. So white has to take care of this. Pawn to a3, and d4 actually could have been captured. Right, if knight takes d4, bishop takes h6 is fine. Bishop takes h6 can be played. If knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4 can be played. This knight is still pinned, so this knight cannot capture back the d4 pawn. So I think knight takes d4 was on there, it could have been captured. So pawn to f6, pawn to h3, bishop to d7, castles, pawn to e5, pawn to d5, knight to e7, queen to d2. Now the h6 knight is hanging, so it will go to the f7 square, and pawn to c5, queen to c8. Just trying to create some chances on the h3 square. Pawn takes pawn, pawn, knight takes pawn. Okay, interesting. So now actually black is allowing this bishop h6 move. Okay, so rook c1, pawn to g5, bishop takes g5, a sacrifice there on the g5 square. Interesting. And I think this sacrifice is not going to work, because there are a lot of defenders here on, which will help black to defend. Actually, even this bishop can come to e8 and try to defend this g6 square. So I think black would be plus here. There is no way that white can win this one. It looks attractive, the sacrifice, but these sacrifices don't work most of the times. Black has to play now. So all the players out there who are playing the tournament, you can request me to analyze your game. I can take up your game and analyze them, and you can watch them later on the YouTube channel. I still think this black is winning this one. Just that 7 square is something that white black should take care of. Once that is done, I think queen g5 can be played now, and try to exchange the attacking pieces. Once these pieces are, yeah, that's the thing now. This is a h7 square is something that is difficult to defend. So queen g5 should have been played there. Rook takes f1, I think, is also considerable, and even bishop e5. Actually, bishop e5 is a nice move here. Bishop e5 will make sure that this pawn e5 is not available. Yes, bishop e5 is a nice move here. So it just makes sure that this pawn is not able to push to the e5, and this structure remains intact. So that this bishop is a dead piece. Unless this pawn can be pushed, this bishop is going to be a dead piece. And now this attack is okay. I think knight takes f5, and still white wants to make sure that he can attack. Now again bishop is blockading this pawn, so that this bishop cannot become an active piece. And if black is able to hold on to this position, probably by, yeah, and now I think queen can come to f6 and defend this pawn to f5. Yeah, queen f6 has been played. b2 pawn is also hanging, but the queen should not move from here, because if queen moves, then white would be happy to push this f4 f6 pawn. The bishop is going to be trapped here. That's what. I think f6 is critical here. I think it's a mate. It's a check and mate. That's what black didn't have to do actually. Yeah, this should be a checkmate soon. Queen g7 check. Queen takes f6. Oh, strange move. That was not necessary actually. There should have been a check and mate, guys, from white side. I just will go back to that position and try to find out if there was a checkmate possible. But this is a difficult position now for uh, white to defend, because black has this beautiful passer here on the h file. This pawn will be captured soon by rook, and then black king. So rook takes e6, bishop takes e6, king takes e6, and then yeah, the king can just march here and try to capture these pawns. And while this king will be busy defending over here on the h file. Okay, let's go back to tournament. Oh, sorry. We actually, let us just check. Yeah. So there was a position wherein the mate could have been possible. Let's try to go to that position quickly. Yeah, f6 and rook takes f6. This position, guys. Queen h7. I think there should have been a check and mate somewhere here. So let's try to ask. I think queen king f8 is possible here probably, and yeah, king f8 is has to be played, and then I think e7. I think yeah, e7 is winning here. So mate in 5 is what Stockfish says here. This is where I felt that mate was possible, but time was critical there. So calculating quickly in this time is not possible most of the times. So bishop check, king moves, and then probably to queen. It's a double check with this queen as well as this queen. So king has to move. This queen cannot be captured. King moves to d6, and I think there should be a check and mate. Check, king takes pawn, and queen e5, king c4, and queen to a4 is check and mate. So it's a nice combination, guys. We started this combination. This can be given as a puzzle also. It's a forced check and mate. So you can take a screenshot of this and give your students this puzzle. This is the position, guys. Okay, you can take not this. This is the position. Yeah, this is the position, and you have to checkmate, force checkmate in about what six moves. Okay, so you can give this as a puzzle to your students. Let's go back now and check the next game. All the viewers out there, just put your questions in the comment section. I would be happy to answer them. Next, let's check the game between Jeremy and Andre. So this is a new team that we have today. Beat Mendano Chess Prodigy. Andre is the captain, and Jeremy Martico, we have seen him playing. He's from Spain, I think, or Venezuela. Oh, Rainbow. What's this? I'm not sure. Okay, I have to check if it's a country. And Andre is from, I'm not sure where, but this is a game between both good players. Let's check what happened in the opening. D4, B6 was played. Bishop to F4, Bishop B7, pawn to E3, pawn to D6, Knight to F3, Knight to D7, Bishop to E2, pawn to G6, pawn to H3, Bishop G7, Bishop to H7, pawn to E5, pawn to C3, Knight to E7, castles, castles, pawn to A4, pawn to A5, Knight D2, pawn H6, Queen B3, and this is a live position, a very positional play, positional chess going on right now. Both players have to make sure that they are making the correct moves on the board. They are not wasting any moves here. Bishop d5, if it is possible, I'm not sure. Bishop d5, we have, okay, so e4 was played. So this diagonal is being shut off now. The idea is to play f5 and go for some kingside attack here. Queen e8 probably, and queen will come to h5, or queen g6 can be played. This knight can join the party by playing knight f6, knight h5, and threat some knight f3 and knight g3. So a lot of ways to develop your minor pieces. Try to do the regrouping of your pieces. Pawn to f3, trying to break up this pawn chain, but I think that would leave this e3 pawn vulnerable here. There would be some pressure on the e3 one. Probably knight can come to d5. Knight takes, and now knight f6 and knight e4 can be played. Yeah. So this is a very nice outpost for this knight on f6. It has been now just covered by this knight on d2. And I think rook e1 and e4 should be played very soon. This is the weakness in White's camp, and he has got rid of that weakness actually. Rook takes and knight f5. I think rook takes will be now played. Rook takes, and queen can come back in the game. Just try to attack here on g6, knight h4, knight g6 is possible. Rook g4 is one of the options that White can try. Oh, rook e1 was played, just trying to put his rook in the open file, but I still feel that this rook on f file is a better piece as compared to this rook on the e4 square. Now rook g4 can be played. Knight e3 will be disturbing then probably. Rook g4, knight e3. e5 I think is going to be a nice outpost for either the knight or this bishop, because it is going to put, if knight sits on e5 then this g6 pawn will be under tension. If bishop sits on e5 then this entire diagonal will be under pressure. I think knight e5 is rook, even rook queen e6 I think can be played. Yeah, if queen takes then this rook will be in a better position to attack the c6 hand as well as this g6 pawn. And now probably onto g4. Yeah, disturb this knight. Knight is not having any square to escape now. It's a trapped piece. Yep, it's trapped. So that's the way white is going to win this game, by trapping one of the knights of black on f5 square. It gives you immense pleasure when you fight for the entire game, and this is the way you get your win. Sometimes an easy win, not, you don't have to put much efforts here, but the one that allows you to put a lot of efforts and then you get a win, that is something that you enjoy most. Yep, I think that's losing for black now. So black is just waiting for, trying to find out how he can escape this one. If black escapes this one, then he is not less than Houdini, the great escapee. So all the viewers out there, just request, if you like the video, hit the like button and share with your friends as much as possible. We have this live broadcast daily wherein you can get your games analyzed. Okay, so king to g8 was played. The knight can be captured for free. Pawn takes f5. There is no way that this rook can be trapped, so it's just a simple piece up here. Pawn takes, and probably then bishop to e5 can be, no, bishop e5 might be a mistake because of king to f7. This rook might get trapped. So that's the thing. I think black is hoping that white would make this blunder of playing bishop e5 and allowing him to play king to f7. This is a critical moment if white is able to, yeah, now king f7. This is what actually black was waiting for from some time. Now I think rook d6 has to be played. That's forced. And now bishop can go to, okay, nice move, king to I think this rook g6 is now possible. Yep. And if king to f7, then rook can capture the g7. So pawn takes, knight takes now. And the c6 pawn will be, so rook takes b7 is now, b6 is possible. This is winning for white now, completely winning. It's an easy win out there. So let's check couple of moves, and then we will go back to the tournament and check the next games. Yeah, rook takes b6. One move from black. Let's not wait for the blunder now. White is going to win this one. Equal pawns and extra piece with white. I think king e3 can be king e3 and king f5, f4 can be played. Okay, let's go back to the tournament now and check the next game. It's an easy win for white. So next game, let's try to find out a game. Okay, let's try to pick this one. Okay, so d4, d5, pawn to e3, knight to f6, bishop to d3, pawn to e6, knight to d2, bishop to e7, pawn to f4. Castles, knight to f3, pawn to b6, knight to e5, pawn to c5, pawn to c3, queen to c7. Castles, I think this is, if I'm not wrong, this is, no, this is not the Botvinnik center. Okay, this is, there is again the middle game concept wherein it's called as a Botvinnik center. You can Google out what is a Botvinnik center. White tries to put in the pawn on c4, d3, and e4 and tries to play around those pawns. There are a lot of plans that you can use in Botvinnik center. You can put the pawn on c4, pawn on d3, pawn on e4, and just try to play your positional game as much as possible. That is called as Botvinnik center. You can Google out. So bishop a6, bishop rook to f3, and d6 bishop. Yeah, bishop takes d3, knight takes d3, knight to e4, rook to h3, putting the pressure on the h7 pawn now. So pawn to g6, queen to g4, pawn to f5, queen to f3, bishop to f6, and knight to f1. So this knight f1, knight g3 will be a nice one, nice maneuvering of this knight if allowed. Pawn to g4, knight takes f2, king takes f2, and pawn takes g4, queen takes g4. So so white has finally managed to get this open file, but it's not easy to exploit that open file right now. Black is under tremendous time pressure, and white is just trying to make sure that he gets a good game here. E5, queen to f7, and queen to h4. The h7 pawn was hanging, so bishop h8 is the way to defend that, but this bishop is going to be a very passive piece. So probably this rook can come to g1 now, king can go to h1, and then white can try to play knight h5. Okay, so queen g4, g5 was played, knight to e7, knight to h5, knight to f5, and rook to f1, pawn to h6, queen back, king to h7. So black is trying to defend, trying to hold his fortress as much as possible, and he loses his queen here. So what a turn of events, guys. So this is a blunder of knight takes f5. Straight away giving his queen here by getting himself pinned here. So blunder here, knight f5, and e takes f5, queen takes g8, takes g8, king to f2, and this should be winning easily now for black. Okay, let's quickly fast forward and check where are we in the game right now. Yeah, this is simply winning for. Okay, why the rook was given away free here? He could have played king to g3 also, right? Oh, okay, so g4 rook is hanging with the queen and rook, so he has to give away the rook here. So queen takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, and king to f4. So now, interesting battle again. Yeah, over here actually I think there was a trick. Okay, b4 was played first. So black should have tried to get quickly to these squares as much as possible. So, but he's late probably. So pawn to b4, pawn takes, pawn to a3, pawn to a4, a3, and then now king will hop on quickly to these squares. But I think black is late now. Yep, he's very late. White should be able to win this one very easily. Okay, so what's happening here? Why did actually white allow black to queen? Let's go back. So this was the position, okay, and this was played here, queen check, and then this was queen. Okay, so that's the reason why. Uh, okay, this was the position, guys, and here actually, yeah, queen check is compulsory. Else this black is going to queen. So here you can calculate actually if you play king to d6, and then you will need 1 2 3 4. So it's going to be pawn push, one move, then queen is going to capture, king is going to capture, two moves, three moves, 4 5 6 7 8. So white won this one, but it's that's the calculation I was trying to explain you guys. Let's quickly try to reach the position which was there. Yeah, this was the position. Let's quickly go ahead. Yeah, so this was played, and here, even here, actually, I think this queen e3 check was good here. So if king goes to b2, then we could have played queen to d2 and try to pin this pawn. Then again, king can go here, but I think in that case it should be manageable because of king to c4. And if queens, then queen takes queen, king takes queen, and king can support this pawn on a3, and meanwhile he can also queen the d pawn. So I think queen e3 was better here for win, easy win. Anyways, so it white chose a difficult way to win this one. Let's quickly fast forward and check what happened in the game. It was queens, and then queen g4 check, queen b4 check, king to a1, and queen check. There was some repetition of the move, so hence I am doing a fast forward now. And queen check, king queen check was allowed, king moved to c4, then uh okay, there was no skewer available. Okay, so this check was given, queen moves, then king queen check again, pawn push, and king to queen to c7 check, king moves, queen check, king moves, and again a queen check. There will be a lot of checks in this game. We just have to check, we just have to find where the black blundered this game. Okay, so that's, yeah, so lot of checks and lot of defending that fight. It's a hard work, yeah. So that's the blunder that finally black committed, probably under time pressure. Queen e5 check, which had no meaning at all. So that's how the position was lost. The game was lost. Okay, let's go back to the next tournament. Sorry, next game. I'm just probably speaking a bit tired today, so I'm speaking some wrong words. Forgive me for that. Let's check the next game. Let's check the game between Kishore King and Sanka. So Kishore King is from the Chess Blasters and Sanka is from Team Future. This is a Sri Lankan team, guys, from Sri Lanka. So it's a nice battle going on between different nations. Let's quickly check what happened in the opening. D4 knight f6, bishop g5, pawn to c5, bishop takes f6, e takes f6, pawn to c3, pawn to g6, knight to f3, castles, bishop g2, pawn to d5, castles, knight to c6, pawn takes, bishop to e6, knight to d5, then to d4, queen to d7, and knight to d2, bishop h3. Just black is just trying to make sure that he is getting some attack here, but this bishop h3 is not going to be much effective because after queen comes here to h3, there is no piece which can, there is no knight on f6 or h6 which can come to g4 and help this queen to build some attack. So it's like a lone wolf out there on the opponent's territory with no support. Okay, so knight f3 was played here, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and rook to e8, pawn to e3, rook to c8, pawn to b4, knight to e5, pawn to a4, knight to c5, knight to c4, king to g1, queen to g4, knight to d2 now, and I think this will allow black to relax a bit because he will get some time here to defend his isolated queen pawn here. This should be a target now. This is what white should be attacking much as possible. Probably do a knight d2 and knight f4, trying to put more pressure here. But I think f5 is something that black would look to attack this weak c3 pawn. So f5 was played here, pawn to h4, pawn to h6, and king to g2. Rook e6, extremely nice sacrifice I feel, because after f takes e6 we have this beautiful knight check coming on. Knight takes e6 and king moves to f1. King moves to f2. Then we have knight takes d1 check. King moves anywhere and we have knight takes c3. So nice sacrifice on e3, and it was defended by playing rook c2, not capturing the rook on e3. So rook went back with an extra pawn. He is the winner out there with capturing the extra pawn and going back into his territory, the rook on e7. Knight to b5, knight goes back to d4. Okay, so I'm wondering that if knight d6 was possible here. If knight takes d6, pawn takes d6, and then the rook to d7, white can play rook takes d5, a free pawn on d5 and support this d6 pawn. I think knight d6 was playable here. Yep, I think yeah, knight d6 should have been played, but he came back to d4 and rook was given a chance to come on e8 and attack in the e file now from black side. So next we see knight c3. So this suddenly this knight is going into a passive mood from this beautiful attacking b square b5. It could have gone to d6, but it came to d4 and now to d3. So this is not the right square for this knight to attack. So rook to e2, rook takes, and king moves to f1. We have rook to c2 attacking the c3 pawn now. With that, this rook comes to d5, rook takes c3, knight to d4, and rook is again. This is actually a pinned. Okay, so this we have, I think, this rook d1 check, rook d8 check, king moves, and we have knight e6 move. Okay, so that this rook is supported from e6, and this rook can be exchanged with the rook on d3. So king e2 was played, so rook went back to a3 and now pawn to c6. Pawn takes, knight takes, and rook takes a4. Rook check, king to h7 and knight to e7. So I still don't think this knight is going to be very much effective here because of this bishop sitting on the g7 square. So that's the current position, guys, the live position. So as I said before, that knight e7 move was not the right move. Now knight came back to d achieving anything on the board. So the pieces were exchanged here, and this seems to be winning for black now. There are a lot of network issues right now we are facing due to the lockdown. There is a huge pressure on the internet services, and that's the result of for that all the viewers. I am still managing to bring the live broadcast to you as much as possible. I think yeah, pawn a2 is now possible. Next move, this g5. Okay, pawn takes g5 I think was better because then the pawns would have been connected and black would have more chances of winning. Yeah, I think that would allow black to play his rook now. Yeah, and this queen will be unstoppable now. It's a simple win for black. So these pawns are now doubled. So there is no point in playing white king. Black king can just come here and capture both the. It's a checkmate on h1. Yep. So let's go back to tournament, guys. Last 7 minutes remaining. Let's check who is leading today. So Chess Blasters and Team Future are tied today on 93 points, followed by the new team today, beat Mindanao Chess Prodigy on 69. Then we have Khelo Chess India on number 4 with 64 points. Then we have RCCA on 59, Golden Castle Chess Club on 44, and Gujarat Lions, I think only one player is playing today, on 10 points. So it's an interesting battle going on for the first rank, and I think third and fourth are also very close, so anyone can get the third position. So let's check on the next game here. So okay, let's check this game. So Andre is from the beat Pindano, and so he's piece up here, and White is just struggling with his two rooks. Let's check what happened in the opening, guys. So d4 was played, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3. So it's a big king's Indian defense. So this fianchetto, if you do the fianchetto right away and allow White to play this c4, d4, and e4, this is the king's Indian defense from black side, one of the favorites of Gary Kasparov. So pawn d6, pawn f3, castles, bishop to e3, pawn to e5, pawn to d5. This is again the advanced variation of the king's queen's sorry the king's Indian defense. There is another variation where this pawn stays back on d4 and this it is being supported by knight d2. This is the Samish variation wherein this f3 is allowed. So when this f3 is played instead of knight f3, this is called as the Samish variation of the king's Indian defense. Pawn to c6, queen to d2, pawn takes, and pawn to a6. Knight to e2, knight to d7, pawn to g4, pawn to h5, pawn takes, knight takes, and pawn to h4, queen to a5, castles, pawn to b5. So the idea is same which we saw in the couple of game back, where we saw the Yugoslav attack, wherein white plays his f3 and then tries to play g4 and h4 for the attack. At the same time, he castles on the queen side, and black tries to do a pawn storm on this b file. Knight can come to b6, and from b6 it can go to c4. So it's a pawn storm on both the sides right now. Okay, so black won this one. Yeah, so knight to f4 was played here. Bishop takes f. Okay, couple of moves back. That's so pawn b4 was played, and bishop h3. So white is willing to give away the piece on c3 here. Pawn takes c3, knight takes c3, knight f4, and bishop takes f4. That's not a nice idea to capture the bishop. To give away this dark square bishop and open this super bishop on the g7 square. So bishop takes, pawn takes, and pawn to h5, bishop f3, bf3, and pawn to g5, rook to g1, pawn to f6, pawn to h6, knight to e5, and bishop takes, rook takes. This is easily winning for black now. This open file is of no use because this own pawn, white's own pawn is blocking his attack. So this has to be exchanged if we want the open files. So queen takes c3 now, and queen takes, rook takes, and this is winning for black. Let's fast forward the game and check what happened in the at the final moments of the game when the result was there. Yep, yep. So that's the win for black now, getting a queen. Let's go back to the tournament and check the last game, probably last or probably last before one. And let's pick up a game between this. Let's pick up this game. So this is between Devnitz from Chess Blasters. Devnitz is from, so the country is not specified. And then we have M4M8579 from Team Future. So Team Future and Chess Blasters are on top right now, trying to figure out who is going to win today's tournament. So this result is going to affect that final ranking on the board. So D4, E6, on to C4, knight to F6, knight to C3. So game ended in a draw, but let's quickly check what happened there. So knight to f6, knight to c3, knight to c6, and pawn to g3. So this is not the best way for black to play here because this knight is blocking your c pawn. Okay, so this pawn actually is not the right way to keep it back and then play knight c6. This pawn should be pushed c5 or c6, and then you should continue with knight d7 or knight c6. So knight f3 here, pawn takes, castles, and pawn to e4. Bishop takes c3 is b takes c3, knight e4, queen to c2, knight to f6, bishop g5, knight to pawn to b6. I think knight e5 is now possible. Yep, knight takes e5, and pawn takes. Piece is lost on f6 now. Yeah, pawn takes, and I think we should be just going on to the next game straight away. Yeah, let's fast forward the game here. Okay, so white allowed actually this perpetual checks. This is very, very, you can say, tragic that after you get such a good position, you should not allow the perpetual. I think rook to d7 was the best move here. Okay, there would have been a mate on this h7 square. So even if rook d7, if rook d7, rook f7 is played, we straight away we can play this rook takes f7, king takes f7, queen h7 check, and king goes to f8, queen at g7 check, king e8, and queen to e7 check and mate. So this was missed probably. So and queen h6 was a blunder here actually, allowing black to give the perpetuals, and that led to a draw. Okay, let's go back to tournament. Last minute remaining now. So still close competition between for the first place. Look here, guys, 108 points by Chess Blasters and 107 by Team Future. A very close competition here for the first and second position. And it would be nice to see who wins in the last 40 seconds here. We still have a lot of games between. You look at here. So Kishore King and Ernesto Rondon are playing this game, and if one of them wins, I think that will decide who is the winner of today's tournament. We also have this Chess Blasters from Super Bohemo and Chess Blasters again here, Team Future again. So a lot of competition between Chess Blasters and Team Future. So three games at least going on in the four games going on in the top list. So last 14 seconds, and I think this is the one point which the Chess Blasters I think have got an extra point, and I think that should help them to win this one. Last 4 seconds remaining, guys. Who would be on top today? It's the Chess Blasters. Yes, that's the final score, guys. So Chess Blasters have won today's tournament by 110 points. Sony Atharva from Chess Blasters is leading with 30 points. We have Team Future a little bit unlucky today with finishing on just 2 points behind the first place. And we have Sanka 1994 on the first place from Sri Lanka, that is Team Future. Beat Mandano Mindanao, just Prodigy. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Andre is leading the team with 26 points, a very nice player. They have finished on 90 points on third place. Then we have RCCA, that is the Richmond College Chess Association. This is again from Sri Lanka. They have finished on 73 points, and the top player is Cheka. Congratulations to this Cheka, who is leading from the RCCA. Then we have Mr. Green today on 18 points, leading from Khelo Chess India. Khelo Chess India finishing today on 66. And then we have Golden Castle Chess Club, RMI Linda on 20 from Golden Castle Chess Club, leading from the team, and team is finishing on 47 points. With the sixth position, Gujarat Lions, no participation from today. So this is the final ranking, guys. All the viewers out there, just request you to like the video and subscribe to the channel to get these notifications every day, right on your mobile, right on your laptops, right on your PC, and you don't miss any updates from Khelo Chess India. You can also check our videos, a wide range of videos. We have around 105 videos now, which are on our channel. You can watch them. There are a lot of technical videos that have explained how you can use the Android technology and use different applications to learn chess. You can check the checklist of Chess Tech series. It is a very nice series. You can learn all the technologies over there. So that's all from Kiro Chess India today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this live session. We will meet tomorrow again at 9:30 p.m. IST to fight it out in the new battle, that is 54th Kilo Chess India team battle. So good night, bye bye, and take care until we meet in the next video.